I couldn't be happier that we got Ultrazeme as one of the maps picked here, not left to the end, because this is a really good map for TVZ. But welcome back. This is the After Dark, the late night show match, the secret stream, however you want to refer to it, guys. It's the Money Peak series. It's a best of 7 between these two players, and I forgot to announce at the start of the stream because they never gave me a Twitch name, so I forgot about it. But Nicholas Johnson earlier today donated $25 and said, "Tack this onto the Journey Impact match. Let's make that a nice even 150." So this was originally a $125 best of 7, and I forgot to tell the players. I should definitely tell the players. It's actually worth $150. 100 for first place, 25 for second. So cool beans. Everybody walks away to get today a winner, and of course thank you to that generous donation tanking under the prize pool. We'll do player introductions, talk about that more in a moment. Though, spawning in the top right corner of the map, he's teamless, but he's also up 1 at the moment. It's the blue Terran Journey.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, it is Axiom's Impact.
Really like Impact. Little sad he couldn't win that game, but he had a lot of really good engagements despite how weird that was. I think this is a definite dynamic to Ultrazeme to talk about, but before we do, again guys, the Money Peak series, the way this has worked is pretty much all the show matches we've done, the way this operates is someone donates a little bit of cash or all of the cash for one match. They request, Impact versus somebody, which is what happened for tonight's series. And then we'll try and tack on some warm-up matches, so like sub money goes towards things like the Bly vs Balloon show match that led towards this. Sub money goes towards putting on additional things, and because again, whoever the person, I can't remember the name, I'm sorry, that requested Impact only had like $50 to start with, we said don't worry, we'll do the rest because we really want to see Impact fight against somebody good, because Impact's a really good player just to begin with. So again, this is the operations of the Money Peak series, and it's been really awesome so far, and I'm really glad we've had so many events and that you guys have been able to get involved. And again, like, that's where all the sub money goes, guys, so you know that your money's going back into StarCraft 2. So much respect and love to you all. However, Ultrazeme Stronghold, the dynamics I was going to talk about though is for both players, this is a map that I kind of feel encourages greed quite heavily. That little choke, that one ramp, being so safe and tucked away.
Yeah. Also can lead itself to funny play from the Zerg player. We've seen a lot of Zerg players start taking that third base as their natural, and while you can say that it's for perfectly reasonable reasons, such as it mines out the third as opposed to the safe natural, which is definitely legitimate, it also can lend a hand to hiding builds, because you can never really get a good scout on the natural in this base as a Terran player unless you scan. We don't like to scan, so so they could still be on 2 base, and we just don't know it. But not gonna be here.
I'm actually having a very relative flashback moment here. Bly vs Ryung. You remember that series we have for the show match?
Yeah, kind of.
Bly went for the Nidus Worm Roach on this map and threw down like 5 Nidus Worms, and even 1 inside of his own natural. So, I mean, Ultrazeme can go to a lot of these like sort of mind gamey, actual tech pathy ways to play this out, but there's also really cool ways to play it too.
Yeah.
And by the way, side note, he won versus Ryung, who anyone who missed that series. So, I mean, it can work.
Jaedong was like the first time where I saw that it was really relevant, this whole mind game thing, and unfortunately the guy's casting didn't really call out on it, but I was like, oh my god, he's doing it. He went for the third as the natural instead of getting the natural, and he did do a 2 base all in that was supposed to be not scouted. I freaked out a little bit. He lost, but that's it's too anticlimactic. Let's pretend it worked.
Well, Journey gonna be going for those Hellions once again. No, it was kind of cool. We saw him go for those Hellbats last game. I don't know that he would necessarily try it again, but these spawn locations in Ultrazeme really does kind of encourage the drops towards the natural of Impact.
Yeah, it does, and I believe that Journey sees that Overlord that's below his barracks, so it's obvious as to where Impact did spawn. And not to mention, Journey, despite being pretty just doing absolutely nothing with that build, was still able to reel off of it really, really easily. You was still at a constant supply up until you were normally, 10, 20 supply behind. It was a no big deal opener. It wasn't necessarily intended to do a lot of damage.
Just side note while this is going on, one thing I'm a little sad about, we have someone in chat asking what rank are these guys. So first off, there's someone out there who doesn't know either of these players, if not both. Blows my mind. Second off, there's kind of this situation where, there's Masters, Grandmasters, and all these things, but I kind of think above any sort of StarCraft 2 ladder ranking, you've got competitive tournament player. And that's something these players both certainly are. So it wouldn't matter what rank they are, because they both play competitively, and I think that's what matters the most. But they are the most ultimate badass Koreans, guys.
I agree as well. And there's some Koreans that pride themselves on their high ranking ladder, and some who just, they pride themselves on their wins in competitive tournaments. But if you really are curious, at least know Journeys, and Journey I believe is something like 2020s, early 2022 or something like that. Grandmaster.
Yeah, well, we'd have to look into Impact's barcode to confirm whether.
Yeah, let's go find that real quick.
Yeah, you know, because there's only like 1 or 3 of them, right? Alright, well, Helen's gonna cross the map. They're gonna do a little bit of poke. We do see the armor coming up quickly once again. So paired with Banshees, potential Hellbats once more. This third base doesn't go down too fast to Hellions, but again, guys, Hellbats hit so much harder.
Yeah, no. And let's not forget that Journey does go into bio into mech or mech into bio. So while he's throwing down 2 factories right now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You could definitely add on 4 barracks later and be perfectly okay.
Yeah, it's weird because, you know, we talked about it before. I think still to this day, MMA is the only player I've seen really pull it off successfully, but we have started seeing this sort of mech bio blend get more and more involved into StarCraft 2, and I like it. I like the idea behind it. The problem is it's just way too expensive to exactly rush towards. It's kind of something you have to slowly build to, but how can you slowly build to it if you're forced to build 19 Marines at a time to deal with banelings, right?
Yeah, there is definitely weak spots in it, and that's why we usually only see it in show matches and things like the Pro League. But I mean, I think more and more we're seeing people like hammer out those weak spots and are able to use it on ladder on a daily basis. Now these Banshees try and take on the Queen, and in fact they will win, of course, and the Hellions try and go up the ramp.
Ooh, nice block there out of Impact, though. A subtle thing, but only a couple drones and Lings mean that only, what, like barely 2 Hellions, barely 3 Hellions get up here instead of full 8?
And the Banshees did have to leave as there was a Spore Crawler. Oh, well, I mean, okay, it takes 1 more shot than usual, but that should not be reason to line them up.
Yeah. The Banshees living, though, I like this. Granted, they're kind of on the clock because Mutalisk will eventually be out, but these are so powerful at sniping off banelings later on. It's not something you can ever underestimate having.
That base was undefended for, oh, whoops. Ooh, doop. And it's good. It's
you know what? That should be another one. Add it to drinking rolls. Anytime Rifkin makes weird noises, because I do that a lot.
I thought you were going to suggest a Popeye emoticon.
No, that's going to be really annoying there. The creep spread's going to block this up for quite a bit of time for Journey, who's just kind of floating for the time being. But it does look like he is fully investing in mech, not going to go for some sort of weird blend. Mech is, it's got some real finesse to it. That it's unfortunate. For a long time, we saw Zerg players kind of struggling with mech, especially the Koreans. We started seeing Korean mech styles, weren't used to it. And, I mean, quite frankly, I think mass mutas is, I hate to say it, some of the better options you can do, if done correctly. Obviously, you can't just blindly go mass mutas and clump them and die to a Thor blast, but, you know, their ability to harass, magic boxing, you name it, I think they're a good way to open this. And because this is also what you do versus bio anyways, it's not a bad start for Impact.
Yeah. Journey should be doing, well, exactly what Balloon was probably trying to do in the last show match. I guess that did really set us up really nicely, but Journey is definitely someone that I've seen on a stream go for that 150-ish, like, mostly Thor attack, try and hit one before Swarmhost to really hit a good number. And it almost always turns into this really, really, really close, like, barely pushing forward or barely being pushed back type thing. If it happens, it'll be pretty intense, but Impact may not be going for Swarm Hosts. He might just be going for... Oh, never mind. That's Enduring Locust.
Yeah. I don't know that I've really seen Impact do a lot of Swarm Host play styles, but, you know, this isn't exactly the best map for them either. A big thing that plays against... I mean, Swarm Hosts are kind of good versus mech in general, but, I mean, a large part of playing any sort of matchup is playing to the strengths of the map. And Ultra Team is way too big for the best Swarm Host usage, but we'll see how it gets them done. I do want to bring this up because someone requested in chat, though. Guys, there's 6,000, upon closing the bet, 6,050 Partoofs bet on Impact winning this. You want to guess how many are in Journey, Zombie Grove?
200?
6,072. So barely 22 Partoofs separate these two players.
Oh, awesome.
That is pretty cool.
You guys believe in my analysis, or my hype, rather, of Journey.
I think, well, whether you're an Impact fan or a Journey fan, this should be a good series nonetheless. Only game 2, of course, in this best of 7, but oh my god, these poor Overlords. Oh god, call 911.
He saw that there was so little in the way of mutas, he was just like, oh, I'll go kill Overlords then.
Drones do split, and a couple of Hellions are going to go down for this. He's not going to get a whole lot of drone kills, but on the same token for Impact, this is his 4th base. Not a big deal.
In total, 20 drones have gone down in Journey's harassment, and Hellions are pretty cheap.
Yeah, well, especially for meching players, because again, for those who don't really know, the whole economics versus like cost things, you're gonna have a lot of minerals floating eventually, and you'll have a lot of these Hellion run bys. And what's actually pretty critical, ooh, it's actually roadblock on the ramp. Journey's got one scumbag tank holding everyone else up. But one thing I was gonna talk about is normally you don't see a lot of Hellion run bys in mech anymore because you couldn't afford, you really literally couldn't afford the gas to spend on the transformation servos. But with Blue Flame and automatic transformation servos, I think Journey's got the potential to do some really good run-bys with your quote-unquote fodder units.
Yeah. Now Journey, he isn't going exactly the time that I thought he was. You know, 150, kind of banking a lot on the attack. He is attacking, but he's also getting 2 command centers, 2 more starports, and another armory. So we could be seeing him attack here, try and do what he can, and then go ahead and get some type of Raven-based composition back home, which is something I'm a little surprised to see. I'm not sure it's going to be as turtley as some of the more infamous people like Avillo and Giddy, but
it's really hard to get to that sky composition though. I mean, one way or another, whether you rush to it or whether you eventually get there. Once you do get there, it's quite scary. But Journey not worried about that for the time being. Locusts are going to try and hold off these waves of units, but this is the power of Hellions with those blue flames, man. They soak the hits with the Locusts. They allow the tanks to get in position. The problem is, though, he's already bled out most of his Hellions here, so this tank's a little bit late to the party.
Yeah, and Impact's run-by is doing just so much work in that it's really halting the reinforcements. Yeah, it killed a few SCVs, but reinforcements were really was really important, and Journey barely gets away from those banelings. That is the fodder and that he needs.
He could have sent them into those. The second one could have connected with all those SCVs.
And they repair each other up like buddies. And Journey will not go ahead and dedicate to this.
But
he will just
anti-air. Oh my god.
Oh, tanks! No, hey Thors, come back here.
Why is he going for the SCVs? These are. Oh, I feel like Impact made the wrong choice there.
He just A moved, and repairing SCVs to have targets.
But this is one of the biggest problems for mech. Big, slow army compositions. They don't deal well with run-bys, and while those roaches and lings didn't do much more than halt the reinforcements, later on when Impact starts dedicating more to that because he's got a better defense, it becomes really hard for Journey to actually deal with any of that. Now the Viking count's high enough that he doesn't actually have to rely on the Thors. Of course, Thors are going to be your best method for shutting down Mutalisks, period. But the Viking count is so high. Ooh. Okay, those connected better than they should have.
Yeah. Oh. Impact, or rather Journey, going for those Ravens like we expected. He has a very good location for the 4th. I really believe that he went for the spec composition because it was these locations. If it was cross, I gotta say there's no way you go for mech. I mean, there's a reason we don't see mech that often on the game in the first place, but this one maybe you can get away with it. And there's also the benefit of, like, usually the biggest thing about playing on big maps against a Zerg player is that their mutas are everywhere. And you can't have enough missile turrets. You just never can. With mech, you have so much extra minerals, kinda can't have enough turrets.
Seeing Journey actually micro hit and run these Hellions guys, he seriously took out half the Locusts before they got here, and he didn't lose a Hellion for it. It's something so subtle, but you don't see people do.
Yeah. There's also another Hellion, the Hellion run by off to the left. He's gonna do some damage, I guess, to the drone line of the 5th. The run by the right, run into banelings. Oh no.
This is not the single most effective way to deal with this, but it's a lot better than trying to struggle with your Mutalisks being in the wrong places for the entire game. A lot of these Hellions that get over here, they've got no health to begin with, so these, they'll kill the drones, granted, but they're not going to do game-ending damage by any means. I like the idea of, like, running by, though. Again, I talked about this before. We don't see the transformation servos coming into effect yet, but using the I guess, the massiveness of Ultrazeem to go around the army, I really like that. Impact, though, I don't know, he set up pretty solid as far as, like, your standard goes. The Locusts, they're not meant to over-dedicate. He's not trying to push right now. He just wants to keep Journey's army in place and not let Journey himself push. But in the same token, he's letting Journey get to that crazy composition, that super swarm host, not swarm host, Raven number.
Yeah. His other option that he really hasn't utilized quite yet and maybe thinking about right now is just to do a bunch of counterattacks with Mutalisk. He really hasn't gone into the production yet, or the 3rd, which only has 1 so that's not going to help. Now, the Vikings, they're only necessary to deal with the mutas, so luckily it's not like he has to wait and deal with Locusts with Vikings, and then he, by being out of position, he's out of position. He can go and chase these with his air army and be perfectly okay.
So Journey's like, oh, it's not quite the Hydra effect. You kill 1 head and 2 grow back. It's like you kill 1 turret and 5 come down. Never again.
That's what I'm talking about, though. I mean, Journey really isn't banking a whole lot because he just now really got max, but soon he's going to be making a lot of minerals.
I like this, too. Like, these run-bys, okay, right now they've been pretty effective because they've been getting to Impact's base every time before these spine crawlers finish. But the problem is, like, Hellbats, they do so much damage they can actually kill Spine Crawlers. But it's the Hellions that are going to run in first, and Hellions don't have a lot of health. He'll lose about half of them every time he runs into that base. But, you know, coming forward, we see one classic problem that we've seen a lot of Zerg players struggle with versus Mech, and we have no pathogen... Oh, there we go. Starts as they say it. No pathogen glands upgrade. If you're going to shut Ravens down, if you're going to shut Vikings down, guys, a fungal growth or two can be just a godsend.
It's what you need. Now, this is very bold from Journey. I mean, you usually want to, you know, like, stand directly into your opponent, but that's over a ridge that you can't get around, so not quite.
Banelin's gonna roll up here. It's Planetary Fortress, but a couple of these are still gonna connect to the SCVs regardless.
Oh no, those last two Banelings were heroes.
Pretty nice so far. Lots of worker harass. Usually in these sort of stalemate situations, you really don't see a lot of that. It's just kind of the tentative posing, ready to engage. But both of these players have managed to get around each other's army a couple of times, pick up some SCVs. Pretty cool stuff. One thing I would like out of Impact, though, start turning more drones into defensive things. Not for the wall, for the swarm host, but more because he just doesn't need 76 supplying drones.
Yeah, he is starting to bank an awful lot. Now, with Journey pushing out here, that means that Impact will start to push towards production.
The point defense drones are so nice, nullifying that damage, but you know, this is for Impact right now. He sees this crazy air army. This has got to be a really scary thing to look at. I mean, there's not just Vikings, but there's also a lot of Banshees and Ravens with this.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't chase the mutas. You can defend against them. You can come back with your Vikings and make sure they don't get in production, but you can't chase them. So, like, your Vikings and your Ravens come to be together, and the concept be with your army, or the mutas just go back and take care of the army, obviously. And now, you know, that's really what's difficult about being mech, is being able to defend 2 points at once.
Now, something I want to clarify here, because I don't know if it's just straight up trolling chat, or if you guys are equally stupid, or what the deal is, but when we're talking about not doing damage to a player, you gotta consider, Impact's at like 7 bases. He can lose 20 drones and still be perfectly fine, because he's got a massive bank and spine crawlers. If any of these drone lines go down, there's seriously like 5 full bases behind it. So for Journey at the same time, while he was doing nice little run-bys earlier, none of that really did damage to Impact. Nothing significant, nothing critical.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that in the drone count and the mineral count. He's still, you know, full in supply. Journey is slowly making his way in here, though. The Banshees, the Ravens really add a lot. I'm surprised why people don't go for more Banshees, but of course they're trying to go
the
for
fungals, though.
instead.
All these... Okay,
Jesus, sorry.
Gets one. Here's the thing with fungal growth, though, guys. A lot of the times you can't go for fungals because the tanks are zoning you out. The second you dive forward, tanks that do bonus damage to armored infestors, they shell them to bits. But every time one of these Ravens sort of clumps like, if they go too far forward, they dip in, fungal growth will go down, and units will die.
You need to be so careful with this Mutilus, man. Lots of point defense drones going down, because that is really... He doesn't have a lot of Hellbats, and honestly he doesn't have that much of a ground army, so he needs something to defend against these locusts so he can finally reach them if that ever happens.
I feel bad for these SCVs on auto repair. They're trying to go for the area that are above the hole in the ground, so they can't quite maneuver, but you know, slowly pushing forward his journey. He's got these Thors too far exposed, I feel. Now granted, while he doesn't need Thors for the anti-air because he has so many Vikings, these are still very expensive units you don't want to throw away for free like that. And for Impact, again, the emphasis comes, these are free units spawning from the swarm hosts.
Yeah. Plus it's like Widow Mines. You look away for 2 seconds and 2 Thor splashes, suddenly your Nito count's a lot less than you thought it was.
Oh god, I can't help but look at this. Like, I've seen some amazing fungals in the past, but Impact is just not in a position where he can land them. He's got so many infestors though. If he does get that fungal off on that air army, Journey is so screwed.
Yeah, he's so screwed.
Like, I'm surprised he's not pre-spreading. Like, we've seen players just pre-spread to avoid any chance of that happening.
Well, trying to dive in. There was not an Overseer that he saw. Of course, there's the Spores that he runs into, unfortunately, but didn't really get anything for those Banshees. Needs to start taking care... Oh, he bought a sensor tower with it. I was like, just realized he brought a sensor tower pretty much with this army.
Wow, that's actually really
slowly
cool
hopping forward.
Alright, what's this going on the rest of the Mutilus are going to go for a counterattack while this is going on. It's worth noting, well, Impact does have a bank. Journey does not. So this counterattack on top of the base, like, well, Impact can afford to lose drone lines, and Impact can afford to lose hatcheries. Journey can't.
He can't afford, as I said, to go ahead and defend the base, though. As long as he can return in a good fashion with his air army to the main, the Mutas can't destroy it.
I wish so badly he had, like, burrowed some infestors over to the side or something, or even Overlord dropped them. Can you imagine Vengeful Sex? Yeah.
Oh, it'd be so sick. Just the bait, and it's like, you know, baiting out phoenixes, something we see often.
Okay, well, the Mutalisks,
Whoa.
they're gonna go down to these turrets for sure. He's starting to bleed them out, but for Impact, I kind of feel like he did the damage he wanted to do already. Cleared out that planetary. It's been resaturated, granted, but, I mean, I don't know, 56 workers killed is pretty nice.
I don't know if it's really worth losing the... Well, okay, he's going for mostly Ultralisk.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to be just giving them away for that supply. But the thing, too, for a Terran player at this stage of the game, though, you're not really caring about the mineral line SCVs. As long as you've got enough for gas geysers, that's all that matters. You're going to be dropping mules for the rest of your actual mineral count.
Yeah. You know, it's fun. Journey was, of course, pushing forward to, you know, push forward and get the game going somewhere. But I like to imagine he was more just because he couldn't get that base, and now he can.
Yeah. I will get this base. The Zergling block actually bought a lot of extra time there, and again, this is the same mentality as last game, where with his defensive line also being his offensive line, it serves two great purposes, and the newest base is going to be his most important. It's the fresh one. Needless to the main, by the way, we're not fully cleaned up, so slowly but surely they're going to start picking off the armories. And while there's no upgrades necessary, this means he won't be able to make Thors.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, as long as he keeps one alive, it's fine.
Yeah. A couple of ducks, really nice.
Yeah, that's the best option he can, of course. PDD's taking care of everything else. I don't know if like Ultras will of course wreck through the ground army, but there are a lot of Ravens. I'm really interested to see what will happen, like who will come out ahead in just like a race, I suppose. Like the Ultras die first, or the army dies first and get to the reduction.
I think he's actually got enough Ravens where he can Secret Missile. The problem with Ultras, guys, unless you've played this position as a Terran player, you won't know the pain I'm talking about. It takes a lot of Secret Missiles to kill an Ultralisk. And the splash damage doesn't really translate too well. But the thing is, Journey's just managed to secure and keep his tank line alive, which often becomes a problem later on. I like this other setup on the top of the ledge, but, I mean, these Ultras are going to just pave the way for the Locust and the fungal growth.
He grounded his Vikings. Was that because he saw the Ultralisk? I don't know.
Well, Fungals do land on some of the other Vikings as well. Ravens, come on, get that Fungal impact!
Oh, the Fungals, the Infestors all went down there,
yeah.
And they also abused them on what was only half of the Viking army, so not only does all of the Ultralists die, but they did not take out the entire ground army. I thought for sure they would at least do that.
You know, it seems like a waste for the Vikings to have been on the ground, but really they were the buffer that the tanks needed, just barely. Same mentality could have applied maybe perhaps if auto turrets were thrown down, but I mean, he didn't really need the Vikings. Impact's not been making air units for a while now.
That's a great point. I mean, when he does, you want to be careful because your production's not as great as them. He can make 60. He can make 60 mutas. You can't make 60 Vikings in return. That kind of problem. But as long as Impact keep on, you know, stubbornly going for Ultralists.
These Ravens they're all following a tank, so they clump up every time it moves. And I'm just thinking, like, where's that one Fungal off to the side? Well, where's Impact's hidden Infestor?
Here's the thing: by following a tank, he's almost always guaranteed to be in tank range. The Infestors never get the chain punch. That
is true. Impact, by the way, awkwardly not blocking. I don't know what these what's he doing up here in the north, but I kind of feel like with these extra bases he has, he's in a really good spot despite this.
Oh, there's the Fungal. And the chain
does he have enough Fungals though? Yeah, he's one or two. Oh, the Secret Missiles though underneath the Ultralisks! I don't think Journey expected that.
Yeah, that probably was not on purpose.
GG. Oh my god, that game went from like even if those Ravens had died, like oh my goodness. He had no bank. I'm looking at it right now. There's no minerals, no gas. GG is absolutely deserved an Impact. We'll take game number 2, tying the series up now 1-1.